Hi, this is a video about Donald Trump, and I record this on the 14th of July. Last night, there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life, and I already predicted that this would happen. I made a post on Reddit 4 months ago predicting this just by looking at his astrology. So if you go to my website, go to the predictions sections, you'll see what I wrote there. I also already made a video on TikTok and Instagram about the Algol Uranus transit that we just had and predicted some not so nice things connected to that. So this is the first YouTube astrology video that I've made in a while. I have been spending more time on TikTok and writing on Substack. So do follow me there if you're not already. I'll also leave some links below in this video. So yes, Donald Trump, absolutely terrifying, really bizarre and surreal to kind of witness that. But oh boy, did his Mars in Leo on the ascendant really, really come out when he was seen with blood on his face and then putting his fist in the air. So, what I want to talk about first of all is that there are some people that are saying, was it a publicity stunt? And I will say, absolutely not. The astrology, which is what I'm going by, and only the astrology, is very clear that it was a very serious attack on his life. So unfortunately, there's some other stuff that I'm going to go over in a few minutes. Donald Trump needs to watch out because this was not a lone attempt. Now, I know there's all that stuff about the guy that did it. And yes, of course, he absolutely was the person that attempted to take Donald Trump's life. However, who got him to do that? Who is really behind it? Now, I personally think that there are going to be more attempts, which is why I'm making this video. If I could write to Donald Trump, if I could call him, I would, and I would let him know. I hope that he has a good astrologer because astrology, when practiced correctly, is accurate. I have made a number of accurate predictions connected to global events, and I'm not really taking the credit for that. It's the planets and the stars, and it's only my ability to interpret them, which is the way that astrology was always practiced. Uh, Historically speaking, was to make predictions about these things. Astrologers were they advised kings, emperors, rulers. But unfortunately, astrology in the modern age is complete crap, and they don't make predictions. They focus on a lot of this new age nonsense. So astrology has got a really tarnished reputation from that. So I do my best to practice it the way that it historically was and to do it justice because believe it when I say that astrology can predict any event on the planet because the sky, the stars, the planets, they reflect what's going on. They're not the cause of it. It's a reflection. I don't know how it works, but that's what the ancient astrologers said. So what does his chart say? I just wanted to mention that. Now, there's been, I don't think anyone in recent times has been subjected to more stories and smear campaigns and all kinds of stuff going on in the media. So what is the truth? Well, I can say by looking at his chart, he is a born leader. He is someone that is, generally speaking, an honorable person, and he deeply loves his country and he wants the best for his country. I'm not saying that I agree with everything that he does, but going by the astrology alone, he does love his country. He wants the way America used to be. He does want to make America great again. And that's just going by his chart. Deep love of his country. He's a highly intelligent guy, but he has a big heart. So what I want to talk about then is this star Algol, which I've made other videos on that, but basically Algol is supposed to be the severed head of Medusa. after this solar hero called Perseus cuts off her head, and it's been connected with the Second World War. It was on and off during that time. I also predicted that war would start on, I think it was the 22nd of February, 22, and that's when Russia started the war with Ukraine. So you can see that it's not connected to very nice things. It's also connected to stuff like the foot and mouth fiasco and some other things, such as the invention of the guillotine. And we can go on and on. It's not a nice star. It was said by the ancient ones that this star was the worst in the sky. So we can connect that with this is going to be ongoing. Now, there's a situation happening in the world that is connected to the star, and we are going to see the story well into next year as well. But the story with Trump, because his midheaven is in Taurus, it's quite close to Algol. So this star has a huge connection with his work and his reputation and his career and his status in the world. Now, of course, that conjunction with Uranus as well is setting things off for him. This is not the last attempt that they will attempt to get rid of him. So probably it's not going to be a shooter the next time. I don't know what kind of technology that they have where they can do things. But like I said, if I was Donald Trump's astrologer, I would be really warning him about certain dates into next year, which I'm going to list off. Now, Donald Trump has a star called Regulus on his ascendant. He's also got Mars on his ascendant. So that's the warrior archetype. It's someone that is very brave and will speak the way that he sees it. I've also got Mars in my ascendant, but it's in a different sign. Now, this star, Regulus, is in Chinese astrology. It's known as the Yellow Emperor. It's also known as the Lion Heart. It is connected to someone that has great leadership abilities and being an honorable person. This is not me making up what I think about Donald Trump. This is what the ancient people said about this star. But it is connected to a violent death. So, you know, he really needs to be careful here. So the star is said to have the nature of Mars and Jupiter. So we have this kind of bravado, tough, brave, willing to get the stuff done. And Jupiter is someone that is a very big personality, but underneath it, he does have a big heart. I can see that. It was also one of the 4 royal stars of Persia. So it is a bit of a big deal. Now, Uranus is going to conjunct Algol again. So we have it again on October 25th and April the 28th. So we're having this story here. This is only the beginning of it, the stuff that started last night. And when this event happened, Mars was acting as an antagonist to Uranus and Algol. Mars is the planet of warfare. So something has started here and it's going to be ongoing all the way into next year. I know that we have the elections and all of that. So looking at Donald Trump's personal transits, here are the dates where he really needs to be careful. So we start with Uranus is squaring his Mars. That is a bit of a chaotic transit that would make him more likely to run into trouble. So the dates are the 29th of July, the 6th of October, and the 9th of May. Now, transits, the events can happen maybe a day or two before, or sometimes slightly after, or it can be exact. So then we have so his astrology in November and December actually looks very good. So I'm not making a prediction about the election, but I'm just saying that his particular astrology is good around that time. So then we come into March 2025. is when Donald Trump needs to take extra care. And I am not saying this lightly. Why? Because he has a lot of stuff going on in his chart, transits, eclipses, all kinds of stuff. This is the danger zone for him. And if I were his astrologer, I would advise him to be so careful around that time with his security, with his food, and make sure that he is not in any vulnerable situation. I mean, last night, that attempted assassination, why did someone in the crowd see the shooter before the security did? So something is badly wrong here and does not add up or make sense. So I would really advise him around that time. Make sure you have a private security company or whatever around you, because you're going to be more vulnerable at this time. Now, I'm not saying for sure that that something, the worst is going to happen, because astrology is not fortune telling, but it makes things much more likely to happen. And March next year is probably the worst time for him. So he's got, in March, Saturn is squaring his sun and his moon. So it's a big deal when Saturn is squaring both of your luminaries, so the sun and moon. They are the most important planets in astrology. So the 5th of March and the 19th of March, and a day or two before and after that period is going to be very difficult for him. And there is an eclipse on the 14th of March, and it happens in his first house. It's squaring his sun. So again, eclipses are connected to assassinations. The ancients said that they were very bad for leaders and kings and people that were in power. Now, there is an eclipse. This is a solar eclipse this time, and it happens on March 29th. In Aries, in his 8th house. So the 8th house is connected to death. I'm just going to say it. And when we have an eclipse in here, it's something that is going to affect several months at a time. It's also connected to taxes and, loans and money that you have with like shared resources with others. So it could be something to do with that. Let's hope that it is. I do hope that it is. So then Saturn enters his 8th house in March as well. Saturn in the 8th house is a horrible transit. And I remember when I had that myself about 4 or 5 years ago. And it's when a lot of things end in your life in a very difficult way. And it can feel traumatic. And there can be a lot of stuff going on that doesn't seem to be in your control. So it's not a nice transit. He's going to have that, for like a year or two. So that is the danger zone next March. And then we have in September the 7th, there is an eclipse in Pisces. It squares his luminaries, the sun and the moon. Again, don't like it at all. Now, that could just be a lot of crap that he has to deal with around that time that he doesn't particularly like. There could be a lot of, if he does end up being the president again, well, you know how that went the last time. With all of the circus in the media and people having this Trump derangement syndrome, which you can bet your ass that if he gets in again, it's going to be even worse this time. So it could be something like that. Now, something I forgot to mention is that we have the Mars retrograde that is at the end of this year. So from December the 6th, Mars goes retrograde in the sign of Leo, which is the same sign of his ascendant. And it goes retrograde in the 12th house of his birth chart in his house of hidden enemies. So this is going to be a time when the hidden enemies are conspiring against him even more so. However, it is a good time for him to actually uncover who the hidden enemies are and deal with them. So that is what I have to say about Donald Trump's transits coming up. Again, I'm not trying to bring my personal opinion into it whatsoever. This is all based on very solid astrology. if you don't believe in astrology, you're probably not going to get anything out of this video. But for those of you who do, I hope that you've learned something. And you know what? I would love it if he could see this just to warn him. So, yeah, so let's see how it goes. Okay, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.